where are you today in your life in the business? So basically it's 7 warning signs you are being left behind and how to fix them. So the question is, are you actually getting ahead or just staying busy? The bad that would be the credit cards, when you're using the credit cards to fuel your lifestyle. Equipment that allows you to bring more revenue into your business, so that would be great debt. And obviously for the real estate purchases. Commit first and then figure out later the rest. And believe me, if you're gonna start doing this, magic will happen. So now let's talk about the no passive income. It's very important to have the passive income, because if you are just solely relying on your active income, on your business or on your salary, so then you are this money generating machine. So basically, if you stop working today, there would be no other income. And this is very, very risky. So to reduce the risk, and this is where the passive income comes into the place. So the goal is to start creating first passive income vehicle in the beginning. And then you start scaling and building the second one, the third one. So then eventually the more flows of passive income you have, the less risk there is, and then the faster you're gonna get that financial freedom. So you probably hear that there is like 7 different flow streams of income that a person should have, but in reality you should have more. So the goal is start with 1, gradually to 10, 3, and then more and more. So I would actually invite for you to write down for yourself. So what flows of passive income do you have today? And just come up with some ideas, start brainstorming, like what are the different streams of income that you can start having. And it can be real estate, it can be any kind of other investments. It can be referral programs. So depending on what life stage you are, like at which level you are. So it can be always different things. So here's another thing, like let's say if you're investing in a real estate, right? Having a different projects, that would be different sources of passive income as well. So like if you having just 1 unit, so that would be one source of passive income. So now let's say if you have 10 different units or buildings, so that's already 10 different sources of income. So basically the more you have, the less risk there. And ideally the goal is to get yourself that your passive income covers your day-to-day lifestyle expenses. So and then once it covers that, this is when you already achieving your financial freedom, and then you're only working because you want to, not because you have to. Number 5 is less than 3 months savings. So this is very vital and crucial as well. So the question is, do you have enough savings in your account to be able to sustain your lifestyle if today there would be no income, if you lose your job, or if the business is closed, or there is some kind of economical something economically is happening. So like when COVID happened, and this is where a lot of business owners found themselves is in this situation, because COVID happened, a lot of the businesses went on a lockdown, and then when you don't have enough savings, then this is where all these life challenging moments comes into the place. So do you have at least 3 months of life savings, of the emergency reserves, you can say that, to sustain your business operations? By the way, this is another important one for the business owners, and all of you are business owners here, right? So for the business owners, this is very important, because if something happens and if you cannot sustain the business for the next 3 months, ideally you need to be able to do this at least for a year. So this is where the business closes. And it's very sad and unfortunate, and I see this very, very unfortunately very often, is when the business starts scaling and growing, and then at some point something happens, and then they're already like that close to push through to start making money and moving on. Unfortunately, they are forced to close the doors because they don't have enough resources. So this is very important, because the last thing that you want is, this disruption and the stress. I actually, like a lot of the businesses, I had a lot of business throughout my career over 27 years. I remember that one just comes to my mind. There was one restaurant. They had a great idea, whole great concept, but they didn't have they had a business plan. I wouldn't say they didn't have a business plan. They had a business plan, but they didn't factor for all the unexpected things that might happen. And one of the unexpected things happened is that they predicted to open up the restaurant in January, but they didn't get the liquor license on time, and then they didn't pass all the inspections. Like these are all the unpredictable things that typically happen. And then because of that, they pushed the opening date for like 4 months, for another 4 months. But what they started doing, they started doing the advertising because they wanted to open up in January. So when it was pushed up until April, so by the time they've already got all the permissions, inspections, and the liquor license, they ran out of the money for the advertising. And then because they ran out of the money for advertising, so when they actually opened up in April, it was not, the grand opening was not as massive as what they originally expected. And to make the long story short, unfortunately, they had to close up the whole business in a year. It was like they just ran out of the money. There's like so many things that were running unexpectedly because they didn't calculate it and budget everything and had no emergency fund. So, and now look at it this way, like they invested over like $1 million in this whole business venture, in this whole restaurant. And just because they didn't factor it, they didn't have enough money, they had to close up the business. And this happens a lot of the times. And the same thing like for your personal lives, like, so that's why it's very crucial and important to have this emergency funds, to have enough money to save in case if something happens. All right, and now talking about the comfort zone trap, right? The comfort zone trap. So this is where the magic happens. Is for some of you that if you already went through this whole cycle, okay, you already have passive income, you're not using the credit cards to fuel your lifestyle, you have enough emergency fund, so you're already making enough and not spending so much. Okay, now you are in this comfort zone, okay, and you're in this comfort zone. But here's the thing, the growth happens when you are out of the comfort zone, and there's like so much out there in our life. There's like so many opportunities. So I actually, like I love to put myself in this challenging position. My husband always tells me, like, like, why are you doing all of this? Like, you always have to create yourself with challenges and then to prove yourself that you came out of as a, you came out of as a hero out of that. But this is what actually helps me to expand my potential. I mean, I actually even look at it this way, like we as humans, we have unbelievable levels of potential. And then this is, by putting ourselves out of this comfort zone, by striving to have more. There's nothing wrong to have more. Listen, I consider like if God gave me this gift and gave me this opportunities to learn and create this financial freedom for myself, so then I feel like it's my responsibility, it's to go into share with others. So yes, it is challenging, but this is, I'm working on my potential, expanding expanding myself out of the comfort zone, and this is where all the magic happens. I'll tell you, like 6 years ago, I would never even when I was during the COVID. And I was going, by the way, through the same exercise. I remember I was going through the same exercise with Tony Robbins, where I found myself where I was making all this money and I was spending even more. And I was thinking, okay, but how do I make this work? How do I get out of this hamster wheel? Okay, and I didn't even think. I mean, again, I wanted, but I didn't think it would be possible to have what I have right now. But what helped me to do this is just to keep going and getting myself out of the comfort zone. This is when all this the breakthrough happens when we push ourselves. So, but unfortunately, a lot of the people they're not just stuck. They just stuck because they are too comfortable. So this is the one that I'm constantly working on debating and, trying to expand myself further and forward. And other things, again, putting myself in these challenges, what helps me to do is constantly coming up with some exciting desiring things that I want to have in my life. The seventh one is the belief the degree equals success. So the way that we were taught is that if we go to school, get a good grades, get to college, get good education, and then we'll have a great and secure job. So here's the thing, I'm all for the education, but the way I would probably see it a little bit in a different way. So unless you want to become like a doctor or attorney, right, obviously you do need to get the skills and the degree, because you cannot be a doctor without having this degree. But besides just getting the college degree, there is much more about the education, and this is what I am all for it. Because unfortunately in school they don't teach us about the money, how to make money, how money works, how to invest, how to invest in real estate, how to run a business, how to become a better leader, marketing, sales. Like they don't teach any of this in school. So, and these are the skills that are very important to have in your life, and this is what actually will help you to create this financial freedom. Like, how to even be financially free. What is financial freedom? Like none of these are taught in school. So that's why, like these are, I'm all for the education. And my youngest daughter, she's in college, and when she went to college, she thought that she'll go to college and she will figure all of it out in her life, who she wants to be, how to make money. And then 2 years ago, me and her, we had this conversation, and she's like, she already switched her major. So she went, first she wanted to be an actress, then she went for psychology. And then she's like, okay, but the school is not even teaching me any of this. And then me and her, we had this talk, and then she tells me, I feel like I'm setting up myself for failure. Because unfortunately, like you're not gonna figure all of this in college. So that's my take on it. And I'll tell you that she started working with me in the company, and I had Marina manage her, and then with all these different departments, she was doing all these different tasks in the company, and she got so much life experience. I also was taking her to Grand Cardone, to all the events, and she got so much experience on actually life, on the marketing, on sales, on money. Like none of the skills are taught in college. So this is my point of view on that. So, but I'm all about education. It's just, which education. And, a lot of the people say, like, what's the best investment? Obviously, the best investment is investment in yourself. In your self-development, in business development. This is something that will definitely help you to grow and scale and create this financial freedom. So basically, look around who is in your environment. That's the most important thing. Is like, who do you have in your environment? Who do you surrender yourself? It's not the athletes, it's not the celebrities, it's the real people, but the real people that actually already achieved what you want to have. So, be careful, like, who are we taking our advices from? Is it from a neighbor or friend or parents? Or, I see, and I used to be like that too. When you're taking the advice from your friends, from the relatives that don't actually have what you want to have, and they never even had that, but then yet we're still taking the advices from them. So that's why it's very important to surrender yourself with the right people, being part of the right networks, right groups. So that's why I'm part of Grant Cardone, all of everything that he does, all the events. And I'll tell you, the whole week last week I spent it around him. And then when I came out of that, like my brain started working in this incredible way. You start asking yourself different questions, you communicating with different people, and then you see like what's possible out there. And just from this last week alone, I met so many incredible people, and there's like so many opportunities already presented to me, like with the investments, with the business. So that's why it's very important to put yourself in the group of the right people in the right environment. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And remember, financial freedom is all in your hands.